This is a fictional story. So a young black African kid, 5, 6, 7 years old, goes to primary school. Over the next 5 years, that child excels in class. White, colonialist, British education school. Schools that we have now. Learning English. This black African kid does so well. In every single class, they get 80%, 90%. Their handle of the English language is so amazing. When they give presentations, they are fluent. They speak really well, like I'm speaking now. They do so much better than even the white kids. And then when they look at in that same school, in that same class, they look at the type of other kids they gravitate to, their friends. Maybe if it's a boy, the type of girls the boy likes. Maybe if it's a girl, the type of boys that girl likes. And it's white people largely. So at some point, the parents pick this up. The teachers pick this up and they have a conversation. And what they realize is that this black African child is in the wrong body. This child is actually a white child, a white English child. And they feel that it is fundamentally important that something needs to be done. Obviously, there are terms like coconut. There are terms like maybe racially confused. So eventually the parents decide, you know what, we're going to undergo surgery. And this child is actually going to go and convert their skin, their hair to become more white. Less melanin, making sure that the way their nose is set up, they change the nose structure, they change maybe the source of the hair follicles, so this child can be white. And some people get upset. This is a black African child that's just really good at white English subjects and that maybe just likes hanging around white kids and maybe having a white partner. This is the story of being transgender. It's a very controversial point. And it's a point that I think more and more of us need to have a conversation about. I'm going to start here. The definitions of sex, which I'd like to call the biological definition, sex. Your sex is your private parts, your reproductive organs. If you have a penis, you are assigned as a boy, a man. If you have a vagina or breasts, you are assigned to being a girl or a woman. Your private parts determine your sex biologically. The second important definition, or not definition per se, but the distinction, is hormones. So hormones, there are two major distinct ones, estrogen and testosterone. Estrogen is normally high in women, in girls, in females. Testosterone, of course, is higher in boys, men, males. That's how it is per standard. Then there's the last one, which is gender. Now, gender is a weird thing, and a lot of us don't really understand, or we've not really interrogated the concept. Gender is man-made. What? What do you mean? Like, no, you're either male or female. No. Gender is man-made. What does that mean? It means when you give birth to a boy or a girl biologically, penis, vagina, and they grow up, later on in life, the girl sprouts breasts, she develops breasts, she starts having her menstrual cycle, her periods. The boy, of course, also reaches puberty, his voice drops, he gets more hair, and he becomes physically stronger. That's what happens naturally. Now, nothing in the natural progress, says which of those two must wear pink, which of those two must go cook, which of those two must go and do the hunting, which of those two must lift the heavy objects, which of those two must get leadership positions or must lead the family or inherits the family wealth, which of those two must become the doctor, the police officer, the nurse, the preschool teacher. That is all man-made. And men have assigned gender roles based on private parts. biologically, the sex. What we're realizing as we get older, as the world moves and changes, is that not everyone is born and aligned. So your sex biology may not be aligned to your hormones, may not be aligned to your gender. That means I can be born with a penis, but find that I have a high level of estrogen. So then when you look at my behavior and my mannerisms, I may be more feminine. I hurt easily, I'm scared, I'm more attracted to maybe laughing with other females. At the same time, my behavior, I may have a penis, I may have high estrogen, but if you look at my gender, I still want to play with cars. I still want to be a police officer when I'm older. Or it may be that I have a penis, but I like looking after little kids. I want to babysit kids. I love cooking and baking. I love wearing pink. I love wearing dresses. And the concept of dresses is funny because if you look at least in the South African context, the Zulu men wore amabheshu. Ibheshu, when you look at it visually, is a form of animal skin that is like a skirt, similar to the Scottish men who wear kilts. And obviously we've seen pictures of the gladiators. You look at some of the Muslim men and you look at old pictures of Jesus characters and back in the day where they were wearing these long tunics that look like dresses. It's a man-made thing to say a skirted dress must be worn by a man or by a boy. But you might find that this boy wants to wear that. So now, because that's where we are in society, a lot of people are confused and they don't really know what's happening. A lot of young boys are born maybe with high estrogen and they struggle with a particular gender space that they put into. They don't want to play with the boys because the boys play sore. They want to play dolls with the girls. They love dressing up Barbie. You find a lot of the girls, we call them tomboys. Born with vaginas, of course, but they're rough. They fight with the boys. They climb the trees. They want to play soccer. They want to play rugby. They look at other boys who cry and they're like, oh, this boy's such a sissy. That's a girl telling you that. And now a very big confusion that happens is you may be born with a penis. You may have high estrogen and be more feminine. And now all of a sudden people say that must mean you're gay, homosexual. You're probably attracted to other boys and other men. That's not always the case. You can be a very feminine man and still be attracted to women. Those women can be feminine themselves, or they might even be masculine. You find the soft feminine boy, man, who is attracted to this masculine tomboy of a girl. They have differing sexual organs, but they're attracted to each other. So who you're attracted to, obviously now we've made it a private part thing, of course, which is what nature, biology intended for. The penis is meant to enter the vagina and is meant to plant semen, sperm into the ovaries so that you can make a baby. That's nature, that's biology. But it may happen that you want to be intimate with someone who happens to share the same private part. That's where we are now. Going back to my story before I get too carried away. Black boy, black girl, excelling in a white space is deemed confused and must undergo surgery to become transracial and to become white. We're finding a lot of children today where their parents or the children maybe like wearing dresses if it's a boy, maybe like wearing trousers if it's a girl. Little boy wants to play with the girls and play with dolls. The little girl wants to go and lift weights and wants to play with the boys. If you look at the hormone levels, you find that this little boy has got high estrogen. This little girl has got high testosterone, which is abnormal. So then the parents with therapists and other people are like, this child might be in the wrong body. And we want to surgically alter their private parts to match their gender. As I told you, gender is man-made. I want to wear a skirt or a dress. And then from there, I get told that this probably means you have a high chance that you're in the wrong body. I look at my penis and get angry. I'm like, I should be a girl. I want to have breasts. And I start pumping myself, even with estrogen. That's literally like asking a black kid to pump themselves with some drug, some hormone to make them feel more white. Things like bleaching, things like wearing weaves and wigs, things like getting shouted at, why are you speaking this language? Speak English. Constantly being panel beaten to become something because apparently that's what you should be. It's very dangerous. And as we know, children change over time. As we grow, we change. I've gone through phases where I was pro-black, pan-Africanist, black conscious. Now I'm in a space where I'm a non-racialist. I want to find the good in people, regardless of race. There are people, of course, that when they're younger, they maybe experiment. I'm maybe hanging around little boys. I want to learn how to kiss. The only people in my space are boys. So I end up kissing the boys and fiddling with their little penises. And someone might think, oh, that means you're gay, but it can be a phase. Later on, I'm 18, 25. All of a sudden, I'm interested in girls with fat asses. Like, oh, girls are so amazing. Another complication is what happens now as a straight heterosexual man. What happens if I meet another man who happens to smell very nice, who has soft, tender skin, who has a very nice bum, beautiful, juicy looking lips, an amazing cook, a gentle voice. Hi, Penwell, it's really nice to meet you. I'm so honored to, oh my gosh, you're making me blush. I find this guy and I'm like, if this guy was a girl, he would be the perfect girl for me. But he happens to have a penis. He doesn't have a vagina, he doesn't have breasts. So what now? No, I can't do that. That's gonna make me fucking gay. Fuck, that's disgusting. In the same breath, you meet a female. I, heterosexual man, go and I meet a female, vagina. She might even have big boobs. She might have a fat ass. But everything about her is masculine. She lifts weights. She's got big muscles. She's got a deep voice. She even has a big Adam's apple. She's like, no, I grew up playing soccer. I play rugby. I shoot guns. I love camping. I'm psyched. I love meat. I love fighting. And I'm like, my masculine energy and hormones is not really attracted to her masculine hormones. Can I be with her because she has a vagina? Should I not be with her because she's so masculine? These are the conversations we need to have because the world is changing. I have got my own prejudices. I have got my own opinions, some of them highly controversial, around being transgender, around homosexuality, around hormones. I mean, there are young boys that inject themselves with steroids and other hormones so that they can run faster, so that it's easier for their muscles to recover when they're lifting weights, so that they can dominate other boys on the sports field. They're injecting themselves artificially with testosterone. But you will have an issue with a female wanting to inject herself with testosterone so that she can be a better athlete, or she can be whatever she wants to be. Are we moving towards a genderless society? And by genderless, I'm not saying you do not have a penis, you do not have a vagina. We're saying we acknowledge the penis, we acknowledge the vagina, we acknowledge the womb and the ovaries. But we're saying if you don't want to wear pants, you can wear whatever you want. If you want, and Matt Walsh made a video, what is a woman? You can see it on YouTube. But the question is, what is a woman? What is a man? Is it the physical appearance? So if you see me clean shaven and I smell well and I have nice mascara and eyeliner and I have beautiful lipstick and I have a soft voice and I'm dressed in a stunning dress, when you see me, am I a woman? Or do you want to see my private part first? Is it my private part that makes me a man or a woman? And again, this is where we separate sex, biology, the hormones, of course, because we normally judge a lot of guys based on their femininity, and they may not even be gay. Same with a lot of chicks who are tomboys. They may not be lesbian. And then there's obviously gender, which is this man-made construct that maybe it's time to break. I look in sports currently, and we can even speak about gender-based violence as a concept. What I've seen in this country, at least, is that men have a 4 times higher chance of killing another man than a woman. Women have a higher chance of killing children than men, which tells me that there's a dynamic of weak and strong. There are strong men that are beating weak women and weak men. If you look at sports, the slowest, fattest guy won't obviously compete with the fast guys. But the fast girl is not allowed to compete with the fast guys purely because she has a vagina. And the slower man, slower boy is not allowed to compete with the females because he has a penis. And we have this issue now of transgenders getting into female sports and dominating, which we feel is unfair on the women. I'm masculine, I'm strong, so I want to lift weights, I want to get into rugby with women. So I go and I undergo a sex change. I transition and I get a vagina so that I can go compete with women. On the other end, men are laughing and saying, well, if women feel they're equal to men, why don't they get a sex change and get penises and come compete with the men? But maybe we need to start looking at this concept of, should the fastest, strongest people be competing with each other, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of sex? Should the slower people be competing together? If it so happens that a man beats a woman, should we look at the fact that this person has a penis and this one has a vagina? Or should we look at the relevant strengths? Because as soon as this woman starts beating up this man, people may be a bit more comfortable with that. But you look at this woman, she's 120 kgs, she lifts weights. And this man with the penis is 60 kgs, he's weak. So when you look at them, you realize this woman is stronger than this man. It just so happens that this one has a vagina and this one has a penis. So when the article goes out, woman slaps man, it's like, come on, it's chilled. But it's not because we're not the same. We are being conditioned and trained from a young age, at least from a schooling perspective, to be equal. When I get up and I present myself in class, I'm competing head to head with the girls in my class, and they can beat me and get higher marks. Academically, if we go into the workspace where you're working on a computer, where you're doing presentations, where you're trying to make money, where you're trying to build systems, like for like, if the woman dominates me, she's better, regardless of the fact that I have a penis. Then when we go to the more archaic, more old school stuff, like physical sports, not chess, girls can whack your ass in chess. But now we look at things like rugby, soccer, football, athletics, sprints, and you find that on average, the men dominate the women, on average. But some of these women are faster than most men on the planet. There's a young girl now, under 20, who I think she ran sub 11, 10.95 seconds in the 100 meters. That tells me that she is faster than almost all men on the planet. Maybe 95% of men on the planet will never run sub 11 seconds. So should she be competing with other women? Should she maybe start competing with other men that run sub 11 seconds and compete on that level? In New Zealand, for example, at a young age, the boys and the girls play rugby together because they're still little, they're in primary school. So as they get older, what I've last heard, in New Zealand, they start ranking you by age, of course, but then also by physicality and talent. So I can be a 12-year-old boy, but if I'm physically massive and I can dominate 15-year-olds, I get removed from the 12-year-olds and I go and I compete with the kids that are 15 because I'm at that level. Physically, in terms of my game, in terms of my strength, my speed, and even my game maturity. That's how you can find a 19-year-old playing in Barcelona with other guys that are 32. You can find even in the rugby world, 17-year-old, I think, James O'Connor in Australia, made Super Rugby and then played for the Wallabies, the national team, I think when he was 18, 19, with guys that are 30, 35, because the talent and the physicality is there. Jonah Lomu was dominating world rugby at the age of 19 in New Zealand. I think he was 120 kgs or something ridiculous. He was running 10.8 seconds in the 100 meters. A freak of nature. We have to have these conversations. They're not comfortable conversations, especially for homophobes, especially for transphobic people, especially for people that believe in gender roles. But we need to have them because the world is changing. There are many strong, capable women out there that need to be given an equal platform to compete. And there are certain weaker men who should be protected away from other spaces and not told just because you have a penis, you must lead, you must dominate, you must go to war, you must be the first line of defense. No. The strongest, smartest person must lead and dominate and be where they need to be. It's a conversation we need to have. Pen you all the black pen. Look forward to your comments. Cheers.